Hello my beautiful watchers. If you've ever wanted to know what the wonderful Wizard of Oz would be like if you swapped out innocent sweet young Dorothy with a modern teenager who swears a lot, then well, you have very specific wants in life, but fortunately, I have got the perfect book for you. This video was chosen by one of my lovely patrons. In fact, most book reviews and Lost in Adaptation episodes are, I just don't mention it every time. If you'd like a chance to request something in the future, be sure to visit my page. Available spots on the Choose a Video tier are limited, but there are a ton of other awards that you can claim while you wait for one to open up. Anyways, Matt Youngmark is an American author most known for writing adult choose-your-own-adventure books such as Zombopocalypse Now, Thrusts of Justice, and Time Travel Dinosaur. However, the book my patron requested I scrutinize today is a more traditional, non-interactive story, originally titled The Wonderful Wizard of Futhermucking Oz, though at some point it was evidently changed to Arabella Grimsborough versus The Wonderful Wizard. The basic premise is Arabella, a 15-year-old Southern Californian with a cynical worldview and exceptionally foul mouth, is convinced to try out a new virtual reality experience at her local mall that claims to provide an immersive journey through classic literature and selects The Wizard of Oz as that is one of her personal favorites. However, she quickly discovers that this was either a magical or advanced technological trap of some sort when she loses consciousness and wakes up in what appears to genuinely be the Land of Oz in a way that no modern virtual reality would be able to accomplish. She can't find a way to quit, and everyone there perceives her as 10-year-old Dorothy Gale, so she's forced to follow the story to its conclusion in the hopes that this will end the simulation and allow her to return home. She runs into immediate difficulties, however, because the simulation is specifically following the plot of the book by L. Frank Baum, and she has only seen the film. This revelation went a long way towards explaining why my patron thought I would enjoy this book, as that particular Lost in Adaptation was one of my early successes. I don't know if I should recommend it to you or not, because I am horribly ashamed of all of my old work, and I classify anything more than a week old as old, so life is hard for me. Arabella goes on to swear and complain her way across the Land of Oz, struggling to navigate past the challenges that she wasn't able to learn from Judy Garland. Amusingly, young Mark and I clearly found the same parts of the book that didn't make it into the film interesting because we both focus on the same stuff in our respective work. The coveted shoes being Silver, not Ruby, the Witch of the North being an old woman, not Glinda, the Scarecrow having entered the world one paintbrush stroke at a time as he was given a face, the Tin Man's tragic and gory human backstory, the lion not being anthropomorphic, the Kaladar monsters, the Emerald City not being green, the Winkles, the Quadlings, the fact that the flying monkeys did not give a fuck about the witch and eventually became Dorothy's minions instead, the unintentionally horrifying porcelain doll town, the big-ass mother-loving spider the lion kills, and Glinda's army of sexy women. Now, if this sounds pretty good to you, there are a few caveats I should mention that may or may not soil the experience for you. First of all, it is made abundantly clear that young Mark really doesn't like The Wonderful Wizard of Oz or L. Frank Baum, and that dislike is pretty well imbued into the entire book, so there's a very heavy focus on snark and the pointing out of plot holes. To justify this dislike, he references the time that Baum advocated for the complete genocide of Native Americans, which, yeah, he did. He did be doing that shit. Baum wrote a newspaper article in 1890 that actually started out pretty strong because he was mourning the death of Sitting Bull, a leader that he admired, but he went on to conclude that because so many atrocities had already been committed against the indigenous population, the only option left for peace in America was to finish the job and kill them all, which, yep, that's a big old yikes. So that's totally valid. However, in the intro to his book, Arabella, so presumably young Mark through her, also implies that Baum might have been a paedophile because of some phrasing of words in an interview that sounded weird to a 21st century ear, which is just kind of petty, to be honest. She also decides that Baum must be a crappy writer because the story keeps on going for a bit after the witch is melted, claiming that he just had a bunch of leftover crap that he couldn't figure out how to fit into the main story. Now, he is absolutely entitled to this opinion, but I think it's a little unfair because I'm pretty sure the last part of the book would only feel that way if you're looking at it from the perspective of someone who is very used to the film, in which the Wicked Witch of the West was the undisputed main antagonist from start start to finish. As I mentioned in my Lost in Adaptation episode, Old Greenie only enters the story a few chapters before her death. The Wonderful Wizard of Oz doesn't really have an overarching villain or follow the hero's journey format. It's more of a whimsical and unstructured thing, like a Lewis Carroll book. Another major issue I have with Young Mark's book is just how closely it sticks to the plot of the book it's reimagining. Honestly, if it were not public domain, I don't think it would meet the transformative requirements for fair use parody protection. Large parts of the original text are copy-pasted pretty much verbatim, punctuated only occasionally with Arabella's cynical or horrified thoughts on the matter. Now, I realize that this is a feature, not a bug, but as a result, I think this book falls over the line that good parodies and satirical works have to walk, between referencing the source material and maintaining their own sense of identity. What I'm trying to say is, this isn't really Matt Youngmark's book, it's L. Frank Baum's book, a sarcastic commentary penciled into the margins. Like, MST3K is amusing as hell, but no one who watches it is ever going to claim that those guys have made their own movie. This unwavering adherence to the original is also kind of a plot hole if you think about it. Like, a huge part of the premise is Arabella and Dorothy are different people in every conceivable way, but somehow they both make enough of the same decisions to follow the exact same path through the parts of the story that weren't in the film. It just leaves it feeling a little railroaded and forced. If I were trying to script doctor this, I would suggest giving up on the strict adherence to the original plot about halfway through when the novelty's beginning to wear off, and have Arabella get to the end zone her own way. Now, to be fair, it actually makes complete sense that it's written this way if you assume that the book's target audience is exclusively people who have seen The Wizard of Oz but haven't read the original book, because that would mean it's intended to be an amusing way to reveal the weirder elements of the origin of a beloved movie. Which means it's coincidentally basically a written form, narratively driven Lost in Adaptation, my main YouTube show. It's the same thing I do every month, and I didn't enjoy it. I'm questioning my entire career path now. My only consolation is it might not have been the format, but the character that was my main issue, because in addition to not liking L. Frank Baum, judging by his portrayal of them, it seems like Young Mark really doesn't care for teenage girls either. In addition to her constant complaining, Arabella finds time to be condescending about classic literature, and when asked what advantages her world had over the land of Oz, her go-to examples were cell phones, Netflix, and Tumblr.
Makeup and stickers and ponies and MySpace.com!
So, not the kindest portrayal of the demographic. I also personally felt a little uncomfortable with the way that she was super thirsty for the Tin Man and kept objectifying the way he'd been, sculpted, and the other random sexual things that Young Mark added to this miner's backstory, like having made out with her girlfriends to see if she liked it. Again, to be fair, I should mention that while I found the format tiresome after a while, I'm not saying that none of the jokes landed. There were some genuinely funny moments, like Arabella telling the trio to stop repeating the things they need from the wizard over and over every time they meet someone new, and referring to using the flying monkeys as the ultimate cheat code in any situation as Deus Ex Machina, which is... honestly, that's comedy gold. Oh, and the original Further Mucking title is a reference to a recurring joke about the Scarecrow not being able to swear, which gave me kind of Good Place vibes, but in a good way. But yeah, all in all, this is a book that relies extremely heavily on you finding it very funny that Dorothy swears now, and not already knowing that old children's stories kind of come off as extremely fucked up when observed through a critical adult modern eye. So if that is indeed your jam, I would say go for it. There's nothing wrong with Young Mark's ability to write, I just didn't personally care for this premise. Others evidently did though, because this book clearly sold well enough to warrant 2 sequels. One that looks like it might have been based on John Carter of Mars, and another that is definitely based on 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. If you prefer those novels to Wizard of Oz, then it would probably be fine to start with either one of them. Thanks for joining me, my beautiful watchers. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment, and all those other good things that stop YouTube channels from going gentle into that good night, and I hope to see you next time.
When I'm with you, I feel like I'm inside a rainbow. When I'm with you, I feel like I'm inside a rainbow. The days are dull and gray all the time when you're away.
Much love and appreciation to my patrons of honor, Shelby Holtz, Atel Spurdloff, and Trace Carter. Shout out to Ilnej for the credits music, check out his channel for more parody and original songs, and a huge thank you to this video's editor, Sophia Ricciardi. Links to her work in the video description. So Terry, I know you don't speak English, but I'm warning you. Zombopocalypse. Now? Zombopocalypse. Now you gotta show off for the bloopers as usual.